Morning, everyone. Good to see a few of you jumping on. Welcome to the Wealth Coffee Chat. Hey, Luke. Yeah, it's a pain in the backside, isn't it? This difference in time zone. Well, daylight savings stuff. When does it change? When does it change back to the regular time where the east coast of Australia is all operating on the same time zone? That'd be smart. The 90% of the economics on the East Coast, we should be operating on the same time zone. Anyway, there you go. Morning. Good morning to everybody. Quick intros, October. Yeah. Jason Witten's my name. If you didn't already know, most of you do. But if you are a newbie, if you are new to our coaching and mentoring program, or you've stumbled across us, or someone's recommended us, or myself and the Wealth Coffee Chats, welcome along. Great to see you. Thanks for joining. Let me know. Let us all know where you might be hailing from today. October to March, yeah. So annoying. All right, well, March, it'll change, Luke. Fingers crossed. We can get our mojo back on. Listen, I love all of you, but I'm not getting up at 10 past 7 to do Wealth Coffee Chats, all right? You know, I've got other things to do in the morning at my end of... Anyway, there you go. So, I hope you're all awesome and well. Thought we might talk about a little bit of cash flow stuff today. There has been a bit of a theme going on for a little while about our rents, some cash flow, and what the go is when it comes to a little bit of serviceability, some concerns, some issues, whatever that might be. Now, we've been talking for a while, and you guys know that what I'm going to talk about today, and I'll show you in a minute, is not a surprise in any way, shape, or form to see some of the data revealing what myself and Sam have been talking about for 12, 18 months, 2 years already, which is, folks, that rents are going ballistic, and they're going to continue to go pretty swimmingly for the foreseeable future for us as property investors. And why? Because the cost of our interest has gone up pretty significantly. So the cost of rents must follow to cover those costs. It's a thing called mean reversion, and we're going to talk about that in a moment as we go along as property investors. But let me know in the chat, has anyone had a rent rise pretty nicely in the last little bit? Chuck that in the chat for me. All of my properties have gone up between $80 and $150 in rent. You know, it sucks to be on the other side of it, obviously, where you as a tenant need to pay more rent. That's never fun, that is for sure. However, the cost of ownership, the number one cost for us as investors, has, you know, let's say for some, doubled in cost. And we need to be able to make sure that we cover our expenses as we go along. So let me know in the chat, have you put your rents up recently, or are you planning on putting them up? You've been chatting with your property manager to make sure that happens as we go. Because today I wanted to talk to you guys about this little thing. This is what's called, and Sam talks about this all the time, called mean reversion. Now reversion. There we go. I think that's how you spell it. Mean reversion. And there you go. Nice, Luke. The idea that in two ways often when we get some price increasing, right? So, for example, what's happened in recent times, and this is a good example of how house prices, the prices of property, will often outstrip its ability to keep up with certain rental incomes. And I'll talk about that in a second. So what have we had? we have had some increases. Let's say this was 2020 and everyone was like, what's going to go on here? Early 2020, March 2020. And then property prices. So our values are by and large have gone up anywhere between sort of 25 and, 30%. All right. 25 and 30% over kind of a 2-year period. 2-year period. Now, there's been some adjustments in values, certainly because of the increasing in interest rates and also the limiting in ability to borrow. But by and large, those values now have increased. Let's say on average, we've got, a house in Pallara in Brisbane going from 600, let's now call it to 900. All right? Unreal. If you're, oh, crikey, we've got the old weirdo chat thing back here. Let me sort this out for a second. Block them. Anyway, there we go. Don't click on those links, folks. Yeah, there you go. So, we've had our property values increase pretty significantly. However, the rents, folks, take more time, all right? Take more time. When this boom started, the capital growth boom started, your property was worth, 600 and your rents were 550. Kind of like 2 years to 3 years later, the rents hadn't really received a lot of pressure, let's say in Brisbane. So the rents were 600, but now your property value is 900, okay? So when you talk about the idea of a percentage, a rental yield, at this point down here, the rental yield was 4.5% as an expression of value over the rent received from its value. And then when we have a look at sort of what's going on, the rental yield now is like 3% against its value. Okay, following along. Servicing. Yeah, servicing absolutely becomes an issue. Tim, it's never been any different, unfortunately. We've always had different ways to deal with it or work with it. So that's really the way most property portfolios, Tim, will grow faster, over time, will grow faster in wealth than your income capacity to unlock it, especially with most PAYG earners. Our careers, often with PAYG, with jobs and careers, is very linear. You get a promotion and you might go up 10, 20, 30 grand a year, maybe less, maybe sometimes no pay rise, but your property values will scoot up pretty significantly, all right? And so for all of us as property investors, everyone I've ever met ends up having that issue, Tim. And there are some tips to do that, right? I mean, you guys have heard me talk about these ideas, Airbnb or short-term letting, and the equity arbitrage becomes very, very important, Tim, later on. So I'm going to try and sort of maybe make this conversation. We've got 3% here. So our property yield against value and against cost, folks, is out of whack, okay? Is out of whack at 3%. So what could we expect into the future, ladies and gents, if we were to see this thing revert to what's called a mean reversion? All right, I'm trying to sort of ask the question without giving the answer away. What type of rent yield into the future will people be able to afford? And Tim was talking about servicing there before. If someone was to buy this property right here, and let's say they wanted to buy it for 900, what type of either rental yield would someone need to have, or they would buy it for at a minimum? What's kind of the comfort level rental yield wise? Put that in the chat for me. Terrible way to ask the question, Jason, but hopefully you got it. What rental yield would you buy that property on in a good location? What's the minimum? Don't get sort of carried away. Yeah, 10% would be lovely, but it's not going to happen, right? 4 to 5%. You're dead right, Luke, right? So that is the mean reversion we're expecting now from 3% to 4.5%, ladies and gents. All right. And when you do the math on the increase of 1.5% over 3 to 4.5, right? That's a pretty significant increase. That is, 35 to 40% increase in rents that we would expect, that you should expect, that will happen. There's no doubt about this. That will happen, right? So that's the mean reversion. Hopefully this is making sense. It's a little bit sort of long-winded, but I just wanted to try and, if you're worried about cash flow, the interest rates are slowing down. They're finding where they need to be. Inflation is slowing down. It's kind of finding where it needs to be. And we're going to see interest rate rises stop, probably drop in the coming 12 months, later next year. However, what will rise will be the values, and what will rise will be the rents. Okay, so let's look at that, right? And we talked about this mean reversion concept, a while ago. All right, so let's see if there's any evidence in the data coming out that shows this stuff. All right, so let's have a look at this. I mean, it's really straightforward, team. And this is where, when we all chat and we talk about what's going on and so on, there are these gaps, there's these moments economically, unless there's something significantly weird going on, like a COVID, there's these 12 to 24 month adjustment periods in owning real estate that we need to be able to handle, right? They don't last any longer than 36 months, maybe less. And in my experience, we need to be able to sort of, wrangle our way through those. And that's the point of creating a property portfolio. The longer you own it, the better off you're going to be. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. I'm rambling a little bit, but I want to get to my point here. My point is, here's the report come out. Oh, here we go. Rents have gone up. Yeah, no shit, Dick Tracy. Yeah, they have, and they're going to continue. And let's just see what the average might be that this report is saying. Let's just do, let's do Brisbane. Call it 25% gone up in 2022, and then 4 to 8% in 2023. I think it's going to do more than that. Matter of fact, I know it will do more than that, especially in the right places. So let's add those up. Let's cut that in the middle. Let's call that 25 plus another 5. That's 30%. What did we talk about with the mean reversion, folks? Pretty close. 35 to 40%. Let's go have a look at the others, right? Let's look at Melbourne. 23%. Call it plus 10. Right, there's 33%. Let's look at Sydney. 30% plus another 10%. Sydney's got some far higher. There's 35%. Look at this. 25% plus another 10. Call it 10. There's 35%. What did we say with our mean reversion? 35 to 40%. It's pretty straightforward, team, when we think about, when you look at it. And often, if we get caught up in this sort of rhetoric, this media fear and ignorance rhetoric, we can lose sight of the simple mathematics of these things, because all of these experts who've never owned a property in their life, never been a property investor, but they want to pass dispersions and opinions on something they got no idea about. Anyway, there you go. So what does it look like? Let's just quickly have a quick look at our cash flow on what we can expect, right? So, you got your market value here. I've got a simple property here, just a house purchased, 5%, 5.5 interest only. What does it look like when it comes to the cash flow? Right now, you're going, all right, okay, negative 13,000 pre-tax. Make sure you claim your tax deductions because it's brand new. Still negative 3,500 after tax, right? And you go, oh, okay, well, perfectly fine. I'm happy to own an awesome property for $3,500, especially when I'm getting $10,000 of my tax back every year, plus I'm getting capital growth. But let's have a look at our rents going up, folks. Let's look at our rent, 650 times by 1.3. Let's have a look at our rent going up 30%. What happens, that's what's underway. Okay, that's going to go to 850. Okay, 850. Let's have a look at owning this property now. Okay. All right, a little bit negative still, pre-tax, $4,000. Now have a look at our after-tax cash flow. Boom. Back to $3,000 in our pocket per annum. There you go. And that is going to be 2024. The rents are going to go up again. The rents are going to continue to go up until 2025, 26, pretty significantly. You guys know this. The supply chain's broken. The population is growing fast. There's lots of jobs. We've got lots of stuff going over this next 5 to 10 years in Australia when it comes to sporting events, infrastructure, the Olympics, the Com Games, the World Rugby World Cups, like all sorts of interesting stuff. Everyone know we've got the Com Games in Melbourne, we've got the Rugby World Cups, we've got the Olympics, and that's only scratching the surface. The biggest infrastructure projects we've ever seen. Melbourne getting more infrastructure money than it's ever seen in its history from the national government and the state government spending. Anyway, there's lots going on. Lots going on. There you go. Anyway, did that make sense? Hopefully. Mean reversion. What are we expecting? It's underway, completely and absolutely, and it will continue. And for the moment, for most people, it's been, a little bit rough for, let's say, 4 to 6 months. Might be a little bit rough for another 4 to 6 months, but put your rents up, and 12 to 18 months later, we'll be back to mean reversion where, the dollars and cents work. There you go. Sweet Alison. There you go. All right. Wealth Coffee Chat done. Wealth Coffee Chat done. Let me know in the chat. Did that make sense? Give me a yes. Was I on track? Did it make sense? Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Bit waffly today, but some days you're crushing it and some days you're just a little bit less on the ball. All right, folks, that's it. I'm done and dusted. Wealth Coffee Chat over and out. You guys be awesome. Be well. All right, join me tomorrow for another Wealth Coffee Chat. It'll be Friday. Fabulous Friday. Hey, pinch and punch for the first day of the month. 1st of December. There you go. Christmas around the corner, folks. All right, I'm waffling now. Bye. Gotta go.